Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Leanna and today we are talking about turning off buyers. How are you in your listing, not meaning to, but how are you turning buyers away? What are you doing that sort of could be fixed that might encourage buyers to purchase from you instead? So we're going to talk about that because I found 7 things and I'll tell you about it. And we're going to end up with a little bit of a story time about a buyer that I just experienced, and I'm going to tell you how I dealt with the situation, and I want to know how you would have dealt with the situation as well. So, first things first, we're talking about turning off buyers. I've had the opportunity over the last couple of weeks to go shopping on Poshmark because I had some credit that I wanted to use up. So I approached shopping in 2 different ways. One was as a seller, so I could source, because even though getting credit is fun and great, I want to turn that credit into cash, so I went sourcing so that I could resell some items and get the cash into my bank account. And also I approached it as a buyer because I was picking up a few things for my own personal use. So my first thing that I did when I went shopping, first of all, the search is still messed up on Poshmark, so it was a little difficult, but I managed to buy stuff. I really did. My first sort of rule for myself is I need to make sure the seller is active. Now, I don't know if most normal or everyday buyers know about this, but you don't want to necessarily be purchasing from a closet that isn't active. And that information is at the end of any listing. It tells you when the seller was last on the app. So you want somebody that is on the app a lot, so that if you have a question, it will get answered. If you send an offer, it will get some sort of decline or counter or whatever, or if you purchase it, it will be, shipped. So as a buyer, it was a turnoff for me if the seller wasn't active. Now, most people that I want to sell on Poshmark, eBay, whatever, they are active, so it's not really a huge sort of thing. I mean, it's very easy to fix. If you're not having sales, maybe you're just not being active. I don't know. But make sure that you're active, because if you're not, it will turn away buyers that want to purchase from you. Okay, so what would make me want to click on a listing? The cover photo. So the cover photos are interesting because I personally like things that are a little bit different. So if I'm scrolling through a whole bunch of Torrid jeans, not that I bought Torrid jeans, but because they are very similar in style, if I'm scrolling through that sort of section and all I see are stock photos, it gets a little boring. So I might click on a listing that's not a stock photo, only because it's different, okay? If I have a whole bunch of jean photos that are only sort of that check mark sort of, if you know what I mean, that thing, and there is a stock photo that's different, I might click on that. I'm not so against stock photos. Even though I've talked about it, I personally do not use them. I understand why people do, so it can be a turnoff if no, it's not really a turnoff. This isn't a turnoff one. This is be a little different, and you might have somebody click on your listing instead. But if the cover photo is blurry, someone's not going to want to click on that. If the cover photo has your item on a messy bed or on a messy floor, or in your bathroom. I've seen cover photos where it's hanging in the shower. That definitely could be a potential turnoff to buyers. Someone's not going to click on that listing if the background is messy, and I mean talking dirty messy, because that to me sends a message that you don't care, and that's going to turn me off for sure, and I'm sure it's going to turn off other buyers as well. Talking about the cover photo, again, clear pictures. They don't have to be fancy. You could have a nice against the wall or against even a door photo, as long as it's clear and people know what they're looking at. That's actually a really good thing. When you click on a listing, the next thing I know on Poshmark you see are the photos. So again, you want to make sure that they are clear and not blurry. You want all aspects as possible, as many photos as possible, so you get all aspects of the item. I was turned off by people that only had 2 photos, and to me that's like, you're not showing me enough, so I didn't like that. I didn't buy from them. Also, people that used primarily stock photos with only 1 or 2 pictures of the actual garment, That for me is a turnoff and a red flag. I want to see the actual garment. Show me the actual garment. Show me front, back, sleeve, detail, whatever it is you want to do. Use as many photos as you possibly can, and that will help me make my mind up. To me, if there's not enough photos, if there's only 2 or 3 of that item, I'm not going to like it. And again, if it's all stock photos, I'm not buying from you. I want the actual item. Next, you're going to read the title, and for me, there's not a lot of turnoffs with title. Just make sure that what you're selling is what you say you're selling. So if you have a George t-shirt, don't label it Anthropology or Aritzia, because that's a lie, and that is totally a turnoff. Don't do that. It is unethical, and buyers aren't going to want to buy from you. That's what my opinion is on that one. Again, in the listings, I mean, honestly, if you have just a couple of words saying, hey, you know, this is in great condition, and you have, what's the word I'm looking for? You provide measurements, you know what, that should be fine as well. That doesn't turn me off. If you have a big flowery description and you talk about the size, you do the measurements, you do a whole bunch of keywords, even that's not a turn off for me. That's okay. My one turn off was no measurements, especially when I was buying for myself personally. I want measurements because we all know sizes are whacked. So if there's no measurements in the photos, I want them in the description. If they're not in the description, I want them in the photos. I want measurements. I will buy from somebody who has that information already there before I actually ask a question, because that question will take time to get answered. It might not get answered, who knows? And I'd much rather have all that information ready for me. Again, this is my own personal preference. When I was sourcing, when I was looking at listings for sourcing, I wasn't so concerned about the measurements, because I figured that when I get the items in, I will do my own photos, I will do measurements, and I will sell it for a higher amount. So it didn't really bother me if there was no measurements as a seller buying things, but for me personally, I need measurements in the listing, whether it's photos or it's, you know, in the description. Okay, so we're almost done. So my last one, the one that really, really, really peed me off, are people that put these rules in their listings. No lowballs, no returns, no cancellations, things like that. I'm not necessarily against having rules. I mean, it's your business. You can do what you want. But the way that they were sort of stated was really, really negative and very intimidating. So if you don't want to get lowball offers, I totally understand that. Absolutely 100%. But for me as a buyer, if I see in my listing, lowball offers will be declined and you will be blocked, I'm like, yeah, I'm not buying from you. Because first of all, what's a lowball offer? Because I think it depends on the item. 50% could be a really lowball offer, but then sometimes 70% would be okay depending on the item. So if you have a rule like that, you could approach it in a more positive way. You could say reasonable offers welcome, which kind of says the same thing, but it says it in a much better way, and buyers will be like, oh, okay, they're open to offers, I'm going to offer something. So when you have a negative rule like no ball, there was really one like this. It said lowball offers will be declined and blocked. It was like, what? Really? It's like, no. Other rules about no returns, especially on Poshmark, that's just a bogus thing. You can't say that because it's Poshmark that decides about returns, not you necessarily as the seller. The seller can okay a return, but we can't really, the final say isn't with us, it's with Poshmark. So having that rule in your closet is actually just rude. It's, in my opinion, it's rude, and it is a potential turnoff. And yet people may argue with me and say, yeah, but you know what? I have bogus returns all the time, and this actually stops people from thinking that they can get away with it and all the rest of it. And okay, I understand that, but for me, the point is, if you are having problems with returns, if you are getting return after return after return, there is a problem with your business model, because you should not be getting that many returns. Yes, there are scammers out there. Yes, there are people that have buyer's remorse. It does happen. But if you are consistently getting return upon return or case open, then you need to look at how you're listing, whether or not you're actually being honest, like brutally honest with the listing. Maybe it's the type of items you're selling. You need to look at yourself and your business first, because that should not be happening. You know what I mean? Knock on wood. I haven't had a return in a while. Again, knock on wood. Yeah, so rules in your closet are absolutely a turnoff in my books. I wouldn't buy from you if you got to do this, you got to do this, and no returns, and all bids are binding, and all this kind of stuff. You know what? You do you. If that's what you feel that you need to do, just realize that it might be potentially turning away buyers. And our job is to encourage those buyers to buy from us. We want them to buy. We want to sell the items. Buy from me. I am trustworthy. I'm cool. You're going to love the item. I'm honest. That's what we want to give out in our listings. We don't want all these rules. We don't want them to be intimidated to buy from us. So that's what I found when I was shopping. It was kind of an interesting thing for me. I try not to do any of those things in my listings. I do try. You can't please everyone also, so what I find that might be a turnoff might be fine for other people, and it might be something totally else for you that turns you off. So let me know down below in the comments if you come across any of these things. What turns you off as a buyer? That'll be interesting. So we're going to talk about this story time. I had a buyer. Okay. This is last week. I think it was Thursday morning. I woke up to a bundle of 3 items with a really good, reasonable offer, which I accepted. Fantastic. I packaged everything up. It was 3 items. It was in a little box. And we were going to the cross-border shipper. We also had to go and pick up my desk. And we were doing stuff. So Paul and I were kind of busy that morning. So I didn't go to the post office right away. I kept the stuff. It's like, we'll go when we come home. So we're sitting waiting for my desk, and I get a message from this buyer saying, oh, can I cancel that order? I want to bundle something else with it. I thought, you know, fine. I have no problems canceling that order, especially if you want to bundle something else. So I said, no problem. I did that. I marked everything for sale. It does mean that I have to, you know, I thought, oh, I won't relist anything on my other platforms because she's just going to bundle something else with it. So fine, I canceled it. We went about our day. Later on, you know, she said thank you. That was fine. I went to bed. I got nothing going on. I'm like, okay, fine. She kind of bundled a few things. And all week, actually, she was bundling and unbundling, liking and unliking, all this stuff. It was like a lot of activity from her. Friday morning comes along. I wake up. I have an offer from this buyer. Great offer. Not a bad offer at all. But she bundled 3 completely different items. I'm like, okay, that's interesting, but okay. Great offer, fine. I go and I package it up. I take the other one out of the box. I reuse the box. I had to put the other stuff back away and, you know, relist it everywhere. So it was a bit of a pain in the butt, but that's okay. So I take the package to the post office. It starts tracking at 2:30 on Friday. 2:30 in the afternoon. It's tracking. Fantastic. I go to bed, and as you know, I go to bed early. I wake up. She had messaged me 3 times at 9 o'clock the night before. She had bought, what'd she buy? She bought a belt and a top, I think, and a frying pan. She asked the question about the frying pan, is it non-stick? Well, it's a stainless steel frying pan. There's no, you know, coating or anything on it. So I didn't even think about putting it's not non-stick in the listing. But she asked this question, and then she said, then she messaged again saying, if it's not non-stick, can you remove it from the bundle? And then 2 minutes later, basically said the same thing again. Take it out of the bundle. I don't want it. And it's like, it's 9 o'clock at night. The package already shipped. Like, so I answered her in the morning early, because that's what I do, and said, okay, first of all, that question should have been asked before you purchased, and the package is already gone. It's already tracking. The only option you're going to have is to receive it and open up a case with Poshmark. Because I figured, what's Poshmark going to do? I mean, whatever. So she messages me back again and says, take it out of the package, take it out of the bundle, I don't want it. And I'm like, what part of it's tracking don't you understand? Like, I was really, really confused. And I said to her, the package is in the hands of Canada Post. I cannot take anything out of it right now. Your only option is to receive it and open a case with Poshmark. Because really, that's the only option she has. And I wouldn't necessarily encourage opening up a case, but... So then she gave me this story about how she's in the hospital and her family's getting her packages, and I'm like, okay, like, I can't help you. I mean, it's already gone. So what I did at this time, because she was still liking other items, asking other questions, and then deleting the question, and then liking items, putting them in the bundles, and back and forth and back and forth. And meanwhile, she's telling me she's in the hospital, and she doesn't understand that Canada Post already has the package. So I did end up blocking her. I knew that I could speak to her through messaging on the order, so I knew that that would be okay, but I ended up blocking her because too much, like, that's just a pain in my butt. Because, I mean, either you're in the hospital and on meds and you don't know really what you're doing, which is not a good thing, or you're just trying to be a pain in the butt, which again is not a good thing. I don't block for a lot of people, but for me, I was like, I don't want to deal with you again, because you know what? First I had an order, I delisted it from the other platforms, packaged it up, you know, went on my way, had to relist everything, mark everything for sale, relist everything, put it back in inventory, and then you come up with this question that should have been asked beforehand. So I was like, okay, I'm done. I don't want this kind of buyer. And with us in our businesses, you are allowed to not have a buyer buy from you. It's perfectly fine. I don't know if I overreacted. What do you guys think? What would you have done in that situation? Okay, that is it for now. I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. I'm actually going to do a haul video, and next week we're going to talk about my new strategy, because I came up with it when Paul and I were away and we didn't have cell service, so it was really fun. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys next week. Have a good weekend. Bye.